Week 16 game picks. I can't believe it's week 16 already. Just 3 weeks left of the regular season. Where has it all gone? I've thoroughly enjoyed this season, but this is the point where it starts to come to an end. So going to make the most of it over the next few weeks, and then we head into a new season, the playoffs, where it is just at a totally different level. So we start with Thursday night football. It is Saints at Rams. Rams are favoured by 3.5. What a way to kick off the Christmas weekend. Both teams are 7-7. This is a huge game in the race for basically a wild card playoff spot for both teams. Whoever wins will gain the head-to-head tiebreaker. And for those that aren't that familiar with how the NFL works, if, let's say, the Rams beat the Saints, and at the end of the season, the Rams and the Saints have the same record, the Rams will finish above the Saints because of this game. Yes, this one standalone game. So it is huge for the winner tonight, basically, because it almost, I wouldn't say eliminates the other team, but it puts them at a distinct disadvantage. So, huge game tonight. The Saints on the road, they've been an inconsistent team this year. I feel like maybe a few of these names, they're kind of, they're coming to an end, shall we say. The defense isn't as good as it was in years past. It feels like really since Trey Hendrickson went to the Bengals a few years ago, they've just continued to decline. I mean, they're by no means a bad defense. They were one of the top defenses not so long ago, and that isn't the case now. Alvin Kamara in the last 4 games has had over 100 yards scrimmage in 3 of them. So he's kind of taken on the load for the absentees like a Michael Thomas. Chris Olave has been absent, but he could be back tonight. I don't know what it is about the Saints. I just don't know if I can really trust them. When you look at the way that the Rams are playing, they do play the running backs pretty well, both on the ground and in the passing game. So I think their mission, shall we say, will be to stop Alvin Kamara from sort of breaking this game in a way. It'll be interesting to see as well how the Saints handle this passing game, because the weapons in this Rams offense, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, who am I forgetting? Tutu Atwell. I always forget the tight end's name. He's productive. This is and of course Matt Stafford is playing at an elite level. This is still a top 10 quarterback. He hasn't really been given the recognition over the years that he deserves because he's been on a bad team most of his career. I am going to go with the Rams. I think they're playing at a more consistent level. I trust Matt Stafford with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. That is in itself a great tandem of receiver, very dangerous to handle. I don't think the Saints will have enough in this game. Rams win, and I'm going to say Rams cover the 3.5 spread. Bengals at Steelers. The Bengals are favoured by 1.5. On a neutral site, that means that Vegas feel that Bengals are the favourites. I don't know what to say about the Steelers. Unfortunately, the Mitchell Trubisky phase of this season, I think, has come to an end. We're going to see Mason Rudolph come back. Another terrible option, in my opinion. So I don't know how long it will be before we might see Mitchell Trubisky again. Ultimately, this is what is holding this team back now. Kenny Pickett can't stay healthy. What I've seen from him is that he is at least functional, far more functional than a Trubisky or a Mason Rudolph. But what's really concerning me with the Steelers, and I'd love to hear what Paul has to say about this, is there is some mild dysfunction publicly going on with the Steelers. Once again this week, we see George Pickens, the infamous clip where he's not blocking downfield, he's just sort of standing around. And Jaylen Warren called him out. He said, if that was me, I would have been blocking for him, but people play the game in a different way. This is one of several incidents or quotes, I guess, from different Steeler players. It's just not what we're used to with the Steelers. Like, yes, since Big Ben retired, they've been in dogfights every year. It tends to be around sort of 9 and 8. They haven't had a losing record yet, and they probably won't this year. But the difference this year is this divide in the team. At first, I thought it was just offense and defense. I think in the Cleveland game, we had, was it Deontay Johnson and Minka Fitzpatrick arguing on the sideline. Arguments happen, but it's more than that. Now we've got, running backs questioning receivers, this whole George Pickens thing. Like, I don't know how all in Pickens is, or is he just a diva receiver that just wants the ball? I get it. Yep. You live with these traits of a receiver, but I don't know, like, he's trending towards the same way that Chase Claypool trended, and you know what the outcome will be with the Steelers. He'll be gone. Even Deontay Johnson had his moment where he kind of gave up on a play a few weeks ago. One of the players that I thought was, the ultimate professional, he's kind of outlasted, diva receivers, if you like. He's seen Chase Claypool come and go. I'm not necessarily saying that Juju Smith-Schuster is a diva receiver, but he came with a little bit of baggage himself. He's come and gone, and now the emergence of George Pickens. To me, you need to just keep Deontay Johnson on the side, keep his head in the game, because he has been really consistent for them. I'm certainly worried about George Pickens moving forward. He needs to get his head on if he wants to stay with the Steelers. And maybe he doesn't. But this is not what we've seen with Mike Tomlin teams. Yes, they've been, they haven't been the best teams, but they've always been ultra committed, and they've always been united. And it doesn't feel like that right now. This would be the perfect time for them to go and win a game, right? The Bengals may be without Jamar Chase. Now, that would be a huge blow. But you look around and you sort of say, as huge as that would be, they do have a lot of weapons. T. Higgins, who had a couple of drops early in the game last week against the Vikings, really stepped up in the clutch when it mattered. That circus touchdown where he basically won a jump ball. The defensive back is pulling him down. He lands and then sort of just pushes his hand backwards over the line for the touchdown. Jake Browning, again, also struggled a lot in the game, but really came through when it mattered late in the fourth quarter to tie the game, and then ad-libbed for a great play downfield to set up the game-winning field goal. So he's got a bit of mettle. I said that I felt that this team could make some noise, at least in the playoffs. I don't feel as confident now about that statement. But they're competitive. They are. They've got the weapons. They've still got Joe Mixon, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. There's plenty good here. I think for this game, it comes down to will the Bengals shut down the Steelers' run game? Because I think if that happens, Mason Rudolph is not going to beat you with his arm. No way, no how. The Steelers' defense, this is a tricky one. And again, would be interested to hear what Paul has to say about what I'm about to say. This pass rush is right at the top of the league. TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, the scheme that the Steelers have, it just generates pressure, generates sacks. TJ Watt, for me, you put him right up there with Myles Garrett for the best defensive rusher in the game, no doubt about it. But they have holes elsewhere on this defense, I feel like. And if you can somehow neutralize the rush, you can expose this defense. You know, there's not much behind that front of, you know, real good, to be honest. I love Minkah Fitzpatrick. On his day, for me, he's the best safety in the league. I would snap your hand off to have him at the 49ers. But I don't know. I just feel like it's an incomplete defense now. And the key is, can you protect? Because that's a huge ask. TJ Watt will break a game in half. Early on in the Colts game, that's what he was doing. But they somehow the Colts found a way to kind of neutralize the rush a bit. And it all kind of fell apart. It wasn't really the defense's fault because they had nothing on offense. And that's what you get with Mitchell Trubisky. So you're sort of seeing the level of downgrade you're going from Kenny Pickett to Trubisky and what I think we'll see with Mason Rudolph. Probably people are underwhelmed with Kenny Pickett. But all I ask is watch the games with Kenny Pickett and watch them with Trubisky and watch them, well, we're going to see it, with Mason Rudolph this week. This is a massive downgrade. I'm picking the Bengals to win this game. It really wouldn't surprise me, though, with their backs against the wall. They love the Steelers, to go and win this game. But I'm going to pick the Bengals, and given the spread is 1.5, they cover the spread as well. I forgot to add that this Steelers-Bengals game is the first of a double header on Saturday. I really love December. The schedule just expands. We don't just have, the regular Thursday, Sunday, Monday. We get Saturday night football. Love it. So yeah, the second part of that, it comes with Bills at Chargers. The spread is 11.5. The Bills are an 11.5 point favourite. There is a lot of reasons for that. The Chargers, I think, quit last week on Brandon Staley, who was then fired. I'm sad to, I never want to wish that sort of thing on anyone, but Brandon Staley's time has been up for a long time now. He has held that team back for far too long, wasting Justin Herbert, who is also injured right now. He's defensive-minded coach, right? And they were sitting as one of the worst defenses in the league. And they're not short of talent. There's no way that they're short of talent when you've got the likes of Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Eric Kendricks. That's a lot of experience. Derwin James, one of the, great safeties coming through in the league. So for me, I'm willing to give the players the benefit of the doubt and call out the coaching. It was the coaching. Now, they've got an interim coach. I think he was their defensive line coach. The name is, apologies, I don't have the name on me. I don't know much about him, but he's got a lot to turn around in 1 week without Justin Herbert. And now they face one of the hottest teams in the NFL, in the Buffalo Bills, who laid the smackdown, shall we say, on the Cowboys last week. It was total domination on offense and defense. I don't see how the Chargers have any shot in this game. I think the Bills will crush them. They will beat them any which way they want to, whether they want to run the ball, whether they want Josh Allen to have a big game. The Bills are going to win this. They're going to cover the 11.5 spread, I think, and they will move on to New England. They have they've got 2 winnable games now. Chargers first, then the Patriots. They're going to have to hope that the Dolphins either slip up against the Cowboys or the Ravens, which is very possible, and that would set up a Week 18 decider for the AFC East. Who would have thought that a few weeks ago? But yeah, Bills win, Bills cover the 11.5 point spread. Moving on to Sunday, our Sunday slate. That's the 1 o'clock window. We have 6 games. The first one I'm going to look at is Colts at Falcons. Colts favoured by 1.5. I'm just going to say it. I am done with the Falcons. They have burned me too many times. And last week, against a very bad Panthers team, somehow, some way, they lose the game. Desmond Ridder kind of set them up to lose that game. I mean, it was 7-6 late in the fourth quarter. It shouldn't have been that close. Desmond Ridder in the red zone, erratic as they come, as we've seen all year round. He has many interceptions, but he should have a lot more. He's had a lot of dropped interceptions. He throws a really dumb pass, could have settled for the field goal, instead gets intercepted, and then the Panthers march down the field, kick a field goal to win the game. They have a simple mission in the off-season, which is to find a competent quarterback. I'm not saying you have to go and find the next Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. It would be nice, but it's very hard to do that. So just find someone competent, more competent than Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke. We get the Heineke experience this week. They've got so many weapons and they're being wasted. Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts has been wasted for years now. I guess at the very least, Desmond Ridder had formed a connection with Drake London, but it's no good with everything else, all of the other flaws that Desmond Ridder brings to the offense. The Colts, under Gardner Minshew as their sort of stand-in quarterback, have been pretty competitive. It'll be interesting to see if Michael Pittman Jr. makes it this week. He is their number 1 receiver. He had quite a violent hit that caused a concussion last week. But even without him, Minshew made magic, didn't he? They lost Zach Moss. It was quite an expensive game against the Steelers in terms of injuries. But it does seem like they might get Jonathan Taylor back this week, which could be a huge plus. Defensively, the Colts are playing very well. I expect them to take care of the Falcons in Atlanta. The spread, as I said, is 1.5. The Colts are in the mix for a wild card spot in the playoffs. They must win this game and in fact, they are tied for the division of the AFC South with the Jaguars and the Texans. This is a must-win to stay in the race, not only for possibly a wild card, but even for the division. And if you win the division, you get that home playoff game. That is huge. I think they do that. Colts win, and Colts will cover the 1.5 point spread. Packers at Panthers. I really do not have a strong opinion about this game. The Packers have messed around a bit in the last 2 weeks, losing to the Giants and then just getting absolutely torched by Baker Mayfield at Lambeau Field last week against the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield's only the second quarterback to have had a perfect passer rating at Lambeau Field, along with Aaron Rodgers. The Packers might get Christian Watson back this week. It seems like that is a big deal in their offense. Like they've got a very young offense. Aaron Jones has been in and out with injury, which hasn't helped. Although AJ Dillon has carried the load, that is a beast of a running back. You don't want to be taking 20, 25 hits from him in a game. He will wear you down. Packers defensively, I have always been highly critical of. They did have a little spurt where they were pretty good, but based on last week, they might be returning to their old ways. The Panthers, as I said in the previous game's preview, they got handed their win last week by the Falcons. It is a poor team, but they are at home. The spread is 4.5 in favour of the Packers. I say Packers win, but I think the Panthers will cover this. I don't think this will be a great game. Packers win a close one. Browns at Texans, another massive game in this rat race for the AFC playoffs. Browns are favoured by 2.5. What an incredible effort by the Texans last week to beat the Titans, heavily undermanned. No CJ Stroud amongst many others. I think Rob and Paul said it a few weeks ago. D'Amico Ryans well worthy of being a candidate for Coach of the Year. I don't know if they're going to get CJ Stroud back this week, and I think that the Browns offer a far tougher test than the Titans do or did last week. The Browns, they have an elite defense. With Joe Flacco, his veteran presence at quarterback has just lifted their offense. Like, he's giving them enough passing game that basically activates their run game because teams are now having to account for this passing game because Flacco is competent. He's doing enough. Yeah, I think the Browns win this game. I think that this is a bridge too far for the Texans. The Texans are in a 3-way tie for the AFC South. I think that they're going to fall behind this week. I think the Browns will have too much. Joe Flacco, interestingly, last week had the most passing yards outside the pocket in a game since I think Mahomes a few years ago, which I thought was quite interesting. It just goes to show that his veteran savviness, he's made a few mistakes here and there, but on the whole, the production definitely outweighs the mistakes. The Browns win this, they've basically got one foot in the door in the playoffs, and who knows what's going to happen in the game on Christmas Day, Ravens at 49ers. If the Browns can win this one and the Ravens were to lose, suddenly the AFC North title is in sight. So it's very important that the Browns win this game. I think they will, and I think they'll cover the 2.5 point spread. Lions at Vikings. Lions are favoured by 2.5. This is the game that I'm probably most nervous about picking this week. You don't really know what you're going to get. This is a divisional game. These two know each other very well. The Lions did bounce back last week, though, in an emphatic way. They were excellent against the Broncos. Defensively, they were able to bring pressure, which is something they've struggled with. If they can't bring pressure, their secondary has major concerns. You can definitely light up this defense. But, if they get the pressure like they did last week, that can kind of cover up the sort of limitations they have there. Vikings, with Nick Mullins, they had a great chance to win that game last week, but Nick Mullins made a few too many mistakes in the game. It's great to have Justin Jefferson back, but that's only going to mean something if Nick Mullins or whoever is going to play at quarterback can be competent enough not to throw the game. These two have got to play twice, which is interesting. We start with the game that's in Minnesota. I feel like the Lions may have just turned a corner. Jared Goff went through a bit of a blip there, but he certainly bounced back last week with a 5-touchdown performance. I did say last week that when you get Amon-Ra St. Brown going in a game, the Lions just, on offense, they look more confident. They just execute at a higher level. I guess, teams know that they have to stop Amon-Ra St. Brown once he gets going. And they are not short of weapons. I mean, look at Jahmyr Gibbs at running back. What a first-round selection he has turned out to be. He was well worth the wait because early in the season, it was mainly David Montgomery. Now they've got, that running back tandem might be the best in the league. Obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown, they've got a healthy offensive line again. And I can't go without saying something about my man, Sam Laporta. My goodness me, 750 odd receiving yards, 9 touchdowns. This rookie tight end is something special in terms of production. Yes, he's not going to give you massive highlights, but he produces. And just another example of Iowa knowing how to breed tight ends, following in the footsteps of the greats like George Kittle. I'm highly impressed by this tight end. I think the Lions are going to win this game. I don't feel confident about it because of the history between these two teams, but I just can't trust my ex-49er Nick Mullins at quarterback for the Vikings. He's got an abundance of weapons himself. Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison. Oh, wow. When Jordan Addison's now playing as a number 2 receiver. These are great weapons that I just don't feel Nick Mullins can consistently activate and take advantage of. The Vikings defense is playing out of this world from where they were last year. All credit to Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator, proving how great a coach he is. But I don't think it will be enough. Lions win and Lions cover the 2.5 point spread. Next up, we've got Commanders at Jets. Jets favoured by 3.5. Commanders are a bad team at this point. Sam Howell is really struggling on the offensive side. I expected more from the Bieniemy offense, to be honest, but maybe it was end of game garbage time production. But when Jacoby Brissett came in, he was able to drive the field quite easily. I'm going to put that down to the game was kind of out of reach for a long time. Although it did get close, but not really close enough. The Commanders' defense, one of the worst in the NFL. The Jets' offense is bad, but I think they'll be able to produce something on the offensive side through Garrett Wilson, through their run game. This won't be a pretty game to watch, to be honest. But the Jets at least do have a fairly elite defense, and I expect them to create a number of turnovers in this game. So I think the Jets win, and I do think the Jets will cover this 3.5 point spread. This is a definite candidate for under, I would say. I don't know what the over-under is, but whatever it is, I would say this will be very low scoring. Seahawks at Titans. Seahawks favoured by 2.5 on the road. It looks like Geno Smith is back this week. A little bit harsh on Drew Lock, who put on quite a show Monday night with the 92-yard game-winning drive. I just think the Seahawks, if they can slow down Derrick Henry's running attack, that should be enough to make the Titans one-dimensional. And as great as DeAndre Hopkins is, if they focus on stopping him and Derrick Henry, I'm struggling to see the Titans score enough points in this game. The Titans defensively, they have looked a bit better in recent weeks, but there's a ton of weapons on this Seattle team. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, those two have been there, done it for a number of years now. But now they've got the third option in Jackson Smith and Jigba, who came up clutch with the winning touchdown last week. Noah Fant at tight end, he's productive. And then Kenneth Walker, I mean, some of the runs he made last week, he was dead to rights and he turned them into positive runs. He's a special runner. Seattle win this game, building on the massive win that they had against the Eagles. I thank you, Seattle, being a 49ers fan, for that. I think they'll go from strength to strength from here. They beat the Titans and they'll cover the 2.5 spread and they will keep their NFC playoff hopes alive. Jaguars at Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are favoured by 1.5. I think in large part because Trevor Lawrence is in concussion protocol. The Jaguars have lost 3 in a row, all to AFC North sides. They lost to the Bengals in a game they should have won. They lost to the Browns, and they deserve that one. And even against the Ravens, too many mistakes, as I said. 3-game skid. Can they stop this run? Because they're now in a 3-way tie for the division lead, and a few more losses, and they won't even make the playoffs at all. Buccaneers, a re-emergence in the last few weeks with Baker Mayfield. I mean, offensively, they've been pretty good. Defensively, there are some issues, but they've had those all year. This is a really difficult one. I think, obviously, if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play, I'm picking the Buccaneers to win. I can't back CJ Beathard or whoever it will be at quarterback. The question is, if Trevor Lawrence plays, can the Jaguars even win in that scenario? They've got to somehow unlock Travis Etienne again, because their offense just hasn't been the same with him not being productive. Like, he is an explosive runner. You give him a lane and he'll take it to the house. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. If Trevor Lawrence plays, I say the Jaguars bounce back. They did lose to 3 very good teams. The Buccaneers have improved, but I'm not sure I can put them on the level of a Cleveland Browns or a Baltimore Ravens. Trevor Lawrence plays, Jaguars win, and they cover the 1.5. Well, they're actually the underdogs, so they will of course cover the plus 1.5 spread. If Trevor Lawrence doesn't play, I will ride with the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers will cover the 1.5 spread on their side. Cardinals at Bears. I'm going to keep this short. The Bears are favoured by 4.5. I say the Bears win this game. Yeah, I haven't really got much to add other than watching the Cardinals 49ers game last week. I don't know what the hell the Cardinals were doing defensively. They thought that leaving Deebo Samuel unguarded and Christian McCaffrey unguarded was a good idea. That defense looks really a mess when you're giving up touchdowns like that. Kyler Murray obviously is a massive threat, and their run game really gave the 49ers problems, but we had interior defensive line injuries. The Bears' defensive front has been pretty stingy, to be honest. I'm not sure they'll have as much success in the run game as they did last week. For that reason, I'm going to say the Bears win. I think the Bears will also cover the 4.5 point spread. Defensively, they're going to have problems stopping Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, Justin Fields' run game. Yeah, Bears win. Now we look to the game of the day on Sunday. It is Cowboys at Dolphins. The Dolphins are favoured by 1.5. Massive concerns now for the Cowboys defense. I mean, they allowed the Bills to run riot, and the Bills have not been a good run team this year. James Cook went for 179 rushing yards. I mean, and it wasn't, we gave up 2 massive plays that combined for 150 yards, and then there was 20 rushes of like 1 yard per rush. It was just constant gashing. They just got devastated by that Bills run game. What is going to happen when the Dolphins go up against this defense? A Dolphins team that is effectively sort of like, it's not run first, but they are very heavily, what's the right word shall I say? They lean on this run game, and rightly so, when you've got runners like Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, and the creative wizard that is Mike McDaniel from the Shanahan tree. It is difficult to see the Cowboys stopping that. But it does. There's one big factor in this. Will Tyreek Hill play? I think if he plays, they're going to put the Cowboys defense in a bind where they can beat you on the ground. You have to account for Tyreek Hill. You have to account for Jalen Waddle, who stepped up in the absence of Tyreek Hill last week. If Tyreek Hill plays, I am going to have to pick the Dolphins to win this game. They will cover the 1.5 point spread. I'm not sure that the Cowboys offensively will have too much to offer. I can't imagine they'll be much worse than last week where they got absolutely dominated by the Bills defense. The Dolphins defense does give you opportunities, so I expect it to be much closer than the game last week. Can Dak get CeeDee Lamb activated? Will Jalen Ramsey? Well, I don't think Jalen Ramsey tends to follow receivers, but when you've got him in the secondary, you might as well not throw to that side. Otherwise, you're really asking for it. Yeah, I'm going to stick to my guns. I expect Tyreek Hill to play. Dolphins will win this game. They'll cover the 1.5 point spread. And that will open up the NFC East title again with the Eagles. Cowboys can't really afford to lose this one, being a game behind the 49ers either. The number 1 seed is still in play, but if they lose this game, it's over for them. And I think they will lose. Sunday night football, Patriots at Broncos. The Patriots season is over. Defensively, they have been better, but their offense is in total dysfunction. The Broncos offered a very poor showing last week. They got dominated by the Lions, seemingly a better team. The Patriots are not the Lions. I think the Broncos will bounce back. I expect multiple turnovers by the Broncos defense, who have really improved over the last 8 weeks. If you exclude what happened last week, they create turnovers. I expect them to create more turnovers against the Patriots. Offensively, I think they'll do enough. Like, it won't be pretty. They'll probably have a turnover or two themselves. But against this Patriots offense, it's hard to lose the game. Low scoring game, definite candidate for under this week. I say the Broncos win. The spread is 6.5. I don't know if I trust the Broncos that much, so I'll say the Broncos win, but the Patriots cover the 6.5 point spread. Just one thing to add. I don't like the fact that Sean Payton publicly dressed down Russell Wilson at seemingly a really odd time of the game. I think that was a punk move. I don't think players will respond well to that. It's not Russell Wilson's fault the defense gave up 42 points. I think that Sean Payton missed a call at the goal line when they should have had a touchdown. He didn't challenge. I don't think that was a good move by Sean Payton personally. But they'll win this game. And they'll keep their playoff hopes alive just about. So 2 weeks after this, let's see what they can do. And now we move on to the Christmas Day triple header. Unbelievable. A Christmas Day triple header. The first game of the day, Raiders at Chiefs. The spread is 10.5. Very intriguing spread. The Raiders have had 10 days or they'll have had more than that, 10, 11, 12 days to prepare for this game. The Chiefs coming off what will be in the end a satisfying victory against the Patriots. But there's a lot of frustration going on there. I think Gronk maybe said it best. Rob Gronkowski said it best about the mistakes that Kadarius Toney is making. It shows that he doesn't love football, is what he said. And, I mean, that's coming from the greatest tight end of all time. I've never seen Patrick Mahomes frustrated at a player, at a teammate, the way he was after that tipped interception from Kadarius Toney. And who can blame him? I mean, Mahomes has been incredibly patient this year, but it's all boiled over now. Kadarius Toney, tipped interceptions, standing offside, expecting the referees to tell you you're offside. No, just don't stand offside in the first place. That is the most entitled view I have ever heard, that players should be told by the referees that they're offside. No, just do your job properly. 10.5 is a bit steep for my liking. I will take the Chiefs to win the game, but because of their offensive struggles, I'm just struggling a little bit with 10.5. I think the Raiders will cover. Aidan O'Connell has done, let's say, a job for the Raiders at quarterback. Defensively, I mean, Max Crosby is a beast. He's one of the best pass rushers in the game. But I don't think there's quite enough on this Raiders defense right now, other than pure attitude, which is all credit to the interim head coach. Chiefs will win. Raiders will cover 10.5 points. The second game of the Christmas Day triple header is Giants at Eagles. I believe the spread is 13.5 in favour of the Eagles. Again, that is very steep. The Eagles have lost 3 in a row, but they've lost to two very, very good teams and another very competitive team in the Seahawks, but they probably should have won the game. It wasn't a great start for Matt Patricia as the defensive play caller. There's definitely some issues. I mean, I thought it was rather odd, the press conference that Jalen Hurts had after the game, where he basically said, we were not committed enough. I don't know if he's taking shots at certain players or whether it's the coaches. Something's not quite right in the Eagles building right now, but this is a great team. Yes, I'm not the highest on Jalen Hurts, but he is a competitor. He's going to put this right this week. They love to play against the Giants. Mission stop Saquon Barkley. Tommy DeVito has been a fun story. The Eagles' pass defense, I keep saying it, they're not good. Like, there will be opportunities for DeVito to throw the ball if the pass rush doesn't get home. And we know that the Giants' offensive line isn't the greatest. The Eagles, if they are elite in one thing right now on defense, it is their front seven. They can stop the run, and they've got the rotation to destroy you, in the pass rushing game. But they definitely have given me enough concern that I cannot back them with a 13.5 point spread. I think the Eagles will win this game. I do think that AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, DeAndre Swift, Jalen Hurts will bounce back this week, and they will produce on offense. They win this game. Obviously, they have a great chance to cover because they love beating the Giants and they get to play them again in 2 or 3 weeks' time. But I can't back them right now. So Eagles win, Giants cover the 13.5-point spread. And what a way to end the Christmas Day triple header. What a way to end week 16. Baltimore Ravens at the San Francisco 49ers, the number one seed in the AFC, going up against the number one seed in the NFC. This could be a Super Bowl preview. You know, you are talking about two heavyweights of the NFL right now. Lamar Jackson, as I keep saying, is at the peak of his powers. He is so hard to defend against. Defensively, the Ravens, as I said earlier, they've had 5 games of allowing 10 points or less. I'm not sure that they will allow 10 points or less this week against this 49ers offense. The 49ers on offense are fully healthy. What is the answer? It feels like the 49ers are the best offense because they can beat you in many different ways based on what defense is in front of them. If you need to run, Shanahan is creative enough in the run game to get it done that way. Purdy, highly accurate, can beat you in the passing game. But this is a tough test. This is a very good Ravens defense who have smothered many teams. I don't think the 49ers get to 30 points this week like they basically have all season. But how do you stop McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, our third down killer, Juwan Jennings, even Kyle Juszczyk at fullback, Trent Williams dominating on the offensive line, and our silent assassin, Brock Purdy, who, keep doubting him, this guy is accurate. He is making bigger plays than the media want to give him credit for. I'm not saying he's a top 10 quarterback, but I'm also not saying he's a check down Charlie. He can make plays outside the numbers, downfield. The one thing about Purdy that I love is his quick processing. He identifies danger quickly, and you don't often see a negative play with him. That's the beauty of Brock Purdy, is his quick processing. The 49ers are at home, and I think that does matter in this game. The Ravens offensively, right? It's one of those, like, they can look unstoppable, but they do have their moments where they stutter. And I'm not sure that they can do that this week against the 49ers. The 49ers didn't have Javon Hargrave and Eric Armstead in the interior defensive line last week. That may continue this week as well. And that's what gives me some cause to pause, because Hargrave in particular is a massive, massive loss. I think this will be a great game. 2 unbelievable teams. But I'm going to go with my heart this week. I'm picking the 49ers to win, the Ravens to cover the 4.5 point spread. I think it will be that close. I think the 49ers win it on a field goal and they move to just one game away from the number one seed. This will be a great game. And yeah, 49ers win.